everyone, hope you're doing good. So spring has finally sprung and we're going to do a garden tour today. Just a couple of weeks ago, I cut everything back, getting it ready for spring, and in no time things are taking off. So let's just jump straight in. Okay, so we're just going to start down here on the end of the bed. So just a couple of weeks ago, I did cut everything back and already we're getting new growth on so much stuff. So this is lavender. The thyme is coming in, and then this rosemary plant is looking great as ever. Don't mind my beet seeds. I'm going to try to sow those today if I have time. And then over here, this is lilac and echinacea. Both of these have grown significantly since our last garden tour, which was just a couple weeks ago. This is more echinacea coming in, and then a couple more lilac that I didn't even see the last time that we did a tour. So that's awesome. Didn't think I was going to get any of those to come back, and I've got at least 3. I'll probably need to come through and pinch those so that they'll branch out and I can have more blooms than just one. Alright, and then here's the lemongrass. I know that I said that I was going to dig this up, but let's be real, I'm definitely not going to dig this up. It's probably going to stay right here. It looks great right there, so I think I'm just going to give it room to do its thing. What do we have here? We have sage. Look at all this new growth. So this is actually a great time to propagate your herbs if you're into that. You can just chop off like 3 to 6 inches of the woody stem there and put it into some water or some soil and just make sure that you don't let it dry out. Over to the next bed. So this is still mostly empty. I think that I did spot a couple of, yep, we've got marigolds that are already sprouting in here, which is really good. If you have marigolds that are kind of self-seeded out here and they're popping up early in the season, that means that they're going to be ready to go to kind of put off the smell of the strawberries here. So hopefully by the time that these are actually putting out fruit, or at least a lot of fruit, I'll have some marigolds that are putting out a good amount of scent to cover it up. And some other things that kind of help with that are the arugula. It is a little bit of a spicy thing, so it can attract certain pests like aphids. And if the deer munch on it, they may not like it. Some of them might, but in my experience, they kind of leave it alone. So I also have this companion planted with a couple of herbs here. So we've got lavender. Here's another lavender. And then another lavender here. So I didn't even know that this one was here. It was just coming up from just a woody base here. Just a little tiny new growth. And then here's garlic that I planted from the grocery store. There's a couple in here that are coming up and they're looking really good. And then all of this purple dead nettle here. So again, this is something that is typically considered a weed by a lot of people, but you can actually leave that and save it. It's really dense in nutrients like iron, so you can save that and use it for teas or dry it and use it in tinctures or however you're wanting it. And then strawberries. So these are all over the place in here, and the greens are starting to come in, so it won't be long at all before the flowers are. So speaking of our arugula here, you can see it is already starting to bolt. We're here, it's the end of March and we're already getting temperatures like above 80 degrees some days. So we have an early spring for sure. And then there's some dandelion. That's another thing that may be considered a weed. But again, it's nutrient dense, so save that, use it for teas and eating and such. And I'm not sure, I think this might be arugula, but it might be some kind of kale or a collard green. I'm not quite sure on this one. I did just kind of sprinkle a bunch of seeds in here, so it's all mixed out. Okay. And over to this bed, more nettle. And then all of this is empty. This is the bed that I'm going to come through and plant my beets in. And then I've got a couple more things of garlic that have come up here, and then carrots. More carrots. These are getting kind of big. I'm not exactly sure what this is, so I'm just going to call this one a weed because I don't know what the name of it is. And then more nettle and a couple more carrots over here. So that's pretty much it in this bed at the time. I've got a lot of little seedlings that are popping up too, so I'm not exactly sure what they are. Probably a lot of celosia. All of those seeds got dumped into this bed. All right, and look at this mugwort. The last time that we seen this, it was maybe just a couple of little green leaves down there, and just a couple of weeks it is going crazy. Broadleaf sage, new growth. You can see it's down here at the center of the base too, so it's going to fill in nicely. This is another rosemary I probably need to go ahead and take out of this bed. And then here we have cilantro and parsley, maybe even a little bit of oregano popping up. And then of course more nettle. And you see how these are going to flower. If I continue to let these go to flower, then they're going to continue to put seeds out in these beds too. So that's just more of a personal choice whether you want it to continue to seed in the area or no. If no, go ahead and grab it before it goes to flower if you're going to be collecting it. And then there we have our thyme, which I was supposed to come back and trim those two plants, but I didn't. I'm such a procrastinator. So here on the end, the last of our garden beds here is going to be some more sage. And then echinacea, which there's another echinacea on that end of the bed too, beside the mugwort. And then lavender. How good this plant looks. And then sage. So real quick, we're going to pop over to the berry plants. Okay, so these are all berry plants. A lot of them have nettle and other types of plants mixed in because I have not weeded them. But it looks like pretty much everything is coming back. I didn't think that the hascap berries were gonna come back, but they certainly did. Let me show you. So this is the hascap berries. They're actually thriving. They look like they're doing better than like the regular blueberry, which I've never tried hascap berries, but from what I read, they're like an elongated blueberry. I'll try to insert a picture here. And then all of the raspberries, blackberries, mulberries, and elderberries. I'm going to do a separate video talking about the berries because there's actually a few tips that you can do to improve your berry production from the research that I've done. Again, this is my first time growing berries, so I've got to actually get all of these in the ground this year too. So I'll be talking about ideal ways that I've seen to grow them. And of course, I'll be taking suggestions because I am no professional. Alright, so that was it for the berries, but I actually have a couple of apple trees and a cherry tree that I'm going to show you. So we've actually never gotten apples to keep and eat from this tree. The wildlife around here always beats us to it. So this year we're going to try really hard to try and climb up in the tree and grab the apples before the animals get there. And then behind me here is a cherry tree, so we'll go and check this out. It has white blooms all over it. And the branches are really high up, so I'm not sure if I can get a good look at this, but we'll do our best. This is another one that we've never gotten the fruit from, so I'm pretty sure that these are tart cherries. They're really small, and the birds definitely always beat us here. So we are going to try to get these, but again, the branches are super high up on this. We're going to have to get a ladder to climb up there and be able to pick them. So we will see how that goes and if we are successful in that right too. So that was it for all of the berries and stuff. So now we're going to go check out some of the flowers that are blooming. Because I have like some tulips that are coming up that I did not think that were going to come back, because I planted like 1,000 of them a couple of years ago, and then the deer came through and ate a ton of the bulbs and the flowers. And if you don't know, you're not supposed to cut the stems of tulips because they won't have the energy to come back the next year. So basically all of the stems got cut on those, and I think I have about 10 of them that are coming back. So I'll show you at least the leaves for those, I guess. The weeds have actually really taken off in the past couple of weeks in this bed as well. I don't know if you're going to be able to see now, but like there's a tulip. And then there's one. And then there's a few more scattered on throughout there, but I really got to come through and take care of this bed too. Okay, so we're over at one of our flower beds here, and you see there's a couple of daffodils that are scattered throughout here that have already bloomed and are kind of dying off. And then these are irises that are going to be blooming here in the next month or so. More irises. Here in this bed, these are peonies that are popping up. We can see if I can find some smaller versions. So there's some, they'll pop out of the ground looking all purple and stuff, and then they'll turn green and put out their flowers. I believe that these are going to bloom in either a light pink or a dark pink, if they don't get mowed over. These ones, they're kind of hard to see when they're little, so sometimes they get mowed over. It happens. And then down this way we have daffodils. These are actually still looking really good. A lot of the other ones in the yard are kind of died off already, which this one doesn't get very much of the afternoon sun. I think that over here we get a lot more of like up until like maybe 12 or 2. It'll get direct light. And then this is irises and more daffodils. And that is a weeping willow tree. And it's actually going to bloom. Look at that. That is so pretty. We were just talking about this the other day. We were looking out the window like, what is that white stuff in the tree? It's like, is it dead leaves? Is it spider webs? No, it's flowers, hon. Okay, and there is some more daffodils, and then there's a little lonely bunch of daffodils down that way. And that's pretty much all that grows in that bed. Last year I had some kind of allium pop up in that bed, so it'd be really cool if that came back, because it was like this really pretty purple flower. I'll insert a picture. I'm not exactly sure which type it is, but I've definitely seen it in the stores. But it would be cool if that came back, and if not, I guess I'll just have to eventually get more of those, because they were really nice to have for the color. Okay. Well, I think that is going to be it for our garden tour today, though I hope that you are enjoying hearing the birds chirp, and hopefully it is warming up in your area as well. I know a lot of you guys are still in the colder regions, and you've got a little bit ways to go. So I'm so happy that everything is finally starting to bloom, and we're getting greenery and flowers everywhere. We still don't have our actual garden in the ground. I think that this year I'm going to try to start a no-dig method. So if you're interested in that, I'm going to do a tutorial and give my opinions on what I think is going to work best based off of doing it with raised beds. So be on the lookout for that. And again, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a great day. Bye.